coaches. Blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, they can't hold a flame against you, ay. Blow the whistle, blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, got the game, it ain't no issue, yeah. Blowing the whistle, I had enough with you, the championship, it is gone. Ain't listen to you, I can't give it to you, cause you don't know what I've been on. This is the Coaches Podcast.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Fantasy Coaches Podcast. I am your host, as always, Coach Steve. Man, week 7 was a different kind of animal, that's for sure. We're going to break it all down today, give you guys some waiver wire talk, a lot of injury news we got to go through, but let's introduce the crew. Coach Jibbs, what's going on, brother?
I'll tell you one thing, this waiver wire ain't going to be empty this week.
No, it is not. It's going to be a lot of things. We probably have all different kinds of ones, so it'll be interesting. That's for sure. Coach John, what's going on, brother?
Nothing much. I got absolutely crushed in fantasy this week. So anyone who played me, congratulations. I'm a bitter loser right now. I traded for CMC in one of the leagues we're in, Steve, thinking, oh, this will help me because I had Dalvin Cook bye and all this, and I still might lose. So it stinks.
We did a coach's trade, Jibbs. I got Dalvin Cook in a first, and I gave him CMC in a second. My team is like 0-7. It sucks. It's the best worst team ever. I just can't win. All right. So enough of that, guys. Like I said, we have a lot to talk about today. We'll get right into the news segment today. So let's do it. All right. So like I said, guys, we have so much news to talk about today. It is wildly insane. First off, Mike Williams, high ankle sprain. Test results brought back today. Likely to miss time. He is on a bye next week, so that's great news. Now, high ankle sprains can vary depending on how severe it is. Honestly, it could be back after the bye, or he could be out for 2 months, a little longer. It really doesn't know. I haven't heard anything else yet about it, but more than likely, it's probably a 3 to 5 week injury. So Mike Williams is going to be out for a significant period of time. Corey Davis, knee injury as well. Considered day-to-day. His status for Sunday is unknown at the moment. DK Metcalf, also knee injury. Does not need surgery, but his time frame to return is to be determined still. So definitely not great news. You're likely assuming he's not going to play in week 8. Ryan Tannehill kind of walked out in some crutches on Sunday, but he's supposed to be okay. But his status, again, is unknown for, obviously, Sunday still. Breece Hall, the terrible news that Breece Hall, the rookie running back, tore his ACL and a meniscus tear as well in his knee. Definitely very sad to hear that. David Njoku, ankle injury. That is a high ankle sprain, which, again, 2 to 5 weeks. Like I said, that's kind of something you should probably put for a guy like Mike Evans' time frame, 2 to 5 weeks. And Daniel Bellinger, he fractured his eye socket and his spectrum over the weekend. Definitely was a bloody thing to see. Definitely not great. Anything you guys want to take away from here overall? I'm sure we'll talk about some of their replacements, but anything in particular?
No, I mean, it's all shitty. It just sucks. It all sucks. I think, the Breece Hall thing, if you're in Dynasty, now might be a good time if you're, trying to, because I'm assuming whoever had Breece Hall was probably doing pretty good and was probably contending. And if you're out, now might be a time to sort of make a trade for Breece Hall. That window might have opened up a little bit, but other than that, this is all just bad news all around.
Yeah, I guess like the two notables would be Breece Hall and Mike Williams. I know Mike Williams hasn't been like Mr. Fantastic over the last 2 games, but it's still going to hurt missing a high-end wide receiver 2 on your team. And then Breece Hall is just devastating. I was watching the game. It kind of looked like I was hoping he was concussed. And then he put him in that cart, and I was like, oh no. So we'll see you back early 2023 and rest in rehab, brother.
Yeah, like I said, ACL tears are usually 9 to 12-month injury, so he could be ready by training camp. Might be taking him some time. We'll see what happens. Doesn't seem like it's, I feel like there was a point in time where like, oh, he'll be back, he'll be fine, he'll be back next season, even if you tear your ACL midseason. Now I feel like sometimes these things people aren't rehabbing or whatever it is, healing as quickly as we all think so. Hopefully that's not the case, but we'll see. He's young. He's only 21. He's got a long future, hopefully, in this NFL.
Yeah, I think franchises are looking at J.K. Dobbins and kind of like, look, we don't want to do that. We don't want to rush our guy back and have him battle this injury all season. Someone like Breece Hall and the Jets, they're willing to I assume they're willing to max out that, recovery time. So if they say 9 months, assume 10, 11,
Right. It's kind of a way to take it. So we'll talk more, obviously, in the offseason about Breece Hall's future next year. So definitely a major blow for this season, though. And obviously anyone who drafted him or took him first overall in their dynasty picks. All right, other news. Chuba Hubbard, ankle injury. He's supposedly okay. Alan Lazard, I have not heard anything about that just yet. Nico Collins, also shoulder injury. Haven't heard much about that. He's definitely not practicing today. Russell Gage, hammy. Haven't heard much about that either. Amon St. Brown had a concussion. Took him out very early, unfortunately, in that week 7 matchup. But he does not have a concussion. He has to go through the protocol still. But he looks good for week 8, hopefully. Mike Boone, ankle injury on IR. I don't know. I think it's probably a short-term thing. So he's out 4 games at least. Obviously, we didn't really talk about the J.K. Dobbins news. He's getting surgery again. He'll be out 4 to 6 weeks as well. The Denver Broncos, in replacement of Mike Boone, went out and signed Marlon Mack. And, of course, this was some pretty interesting news. Matt Ryan benched for Sam Ehlinger. Apparently has a grade 2 shoulder sprain, but coach said that had nothing to do with it. They were going to bench him anyway. And Ehlinger is supposedly to start the rest of the season, considered the start of the rest of the season. You guys just downgrade all of the Colts offense here.
Yeah, I mean,
upgrade Taylor. They're probably gonna run that ball by that much.
Matt Ryan. Luckily, Matt Ryan wasn't like lighting the world on fire. I mean, he was playing okay. So, you're downgrading them a little bit because I think Sam Ehlinger's going to be a little bit more sporadic, turn the ball over a little bit more. But yeah, like Jib said, I think this is where Jonathan Taylor starts to get right.
Yeah,
R.I.P. Pittman.
Yeah. And Paris Campbell was doing really well.
Paris, yeah.
I might have to change my top 5 actually.
Me too.
Yeah, but like I said, it's definitely a major blow. I mean, Ehlinger was kind of that gunslinger type of individual, so maybe that actually helps. But again, he's yet to throw an NFL pass in his 2-year career. If I'm not mistaken, he's 2 years in now. He's all he has, I think, is like 3 carries for 9 yards. That's all his season is worth of his career. So we'll have to wait to see. It can't be much worse than what Matt Ryan was giving us. And Matt Ryan just did not look like anything of a shell of himself at this point of his career. So maybe this is an upgrade. We'll have to wait and see. Definitely going to be people in Superflex leagues trying to pick this man up. I know in Dynasty leagues, he's going to be a major pickup this coming week here. But definitely a major blow. Real quick, before we keep going, do you guys like CMC to 49ers for fantasy?
I mean, I do. Obviously, I just traded for him in one league. I think it's great. It's a top 5 talent going into what we think with Shanahan as a top 5 run system. So, I knew this week was going to be iffy because obviously he was going to be on limited snaps and not know the program. But otherwise, they invested a lot in him, so they're going to use him. And I think he's under contract until the end of 2025. So, wheels up. Again, obviously there's injury concerns. There's always injury concerns, but it's an upgrade from Carolina. So I feel good about it.
Jib's your mic.
I feel great about it. Like John said, like that run system, we've seen scrubs come in there and perform. Now we got like a consensus like top 5 running back in fantasy going to that offense. It should be all green lights go. The only other thing I hate about it is just like the influx of like what the other skill weapons will be doing. Like it's going to be Ayuk week 1 week. How's Debo going to perform? Kittle seems like he's just doing fine. So it's just a lot of cooks in the kitchen, but CMC is definitely going to be good rest of the season.
And you guys already heard mine. I did a little quick extra add-on to our last podcast because I did catch it in time before I finished editing. You guys know that how I feel about the situation overall. I'm not going to get too much into it. I don't know if he's top 5 still. I think top 10, but not top 5 personally. So, all right, let's get into our first segment of the day because that is all the news to talk about here. Keep or cut time, guys. We'll keep this one real short here. About 8 players we have. Are you going to keep them or cut them from your team? First up, Kyle Pitts, another bad performance, has 1 game over 10 fantasy points this season, 1 game as a tight end 1 this year. Is it time to just cut your loss and say, you know what, let someone else deal with the headaches and go out there and get somebody else?
Yeah, in theory, you could cut him, but like you already know, like as soon as you put him on the waiver wire, you're gonna have 10, 11 managers going right after him. So like
Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep him on the bench and probably go with Coach Steve waiver wire people for the week.
Yeah,
That's the season.
I think it's crazy. I mean, it's not crazy because redraft he's not gonna come back. I mean, they're throwing the ball 17, 18 times. It's not gonna happen. Like it's back-to-back teens of throwing the ball. So I think that in redraft you could, but you still might be able to trade someone on a hope and a prayer and just lower your expectations of what you're going to get back. Trade him for a Deonta Foreman, like do something like that. Trade him for a Michael Carter, a piece that you can use. I just, you got to set your expectations a little lower and just trade him away. Don't cut him because Jibbs is right. Everyone would put an offer in on him.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
it's a shame.
Mm-hmm.
Like Brett Ripken's out there throwing 30 times a game, and Mr. Mariota is like at 13. That's unbelievable.
It's insane.
That's insane. Because they're running. Atlanta's running the ball. They're down like by 3 scores, and they're running the ball 3 straight times. Like,
oh, I was watching. I almost pulled up my hair
out. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's such a tough situation. I probably will keep him for another week or 2, but by week 9, if he's not performing at least one more time as a tight end 1, I'm going to get rid of him. We'll talk more about that in a couple of weeks. We'll see how that we feel then. But I think you have to keep him a little bit longer and at least try to trade him. Try so hard to trade him. Trade him for anything.
Mm-hmm. Oh, see you, Steve.
So going on to number 2, are we keeping or are we cutting AJ Dillon?
Oh, that's so funny. I was thinking this today. I was looking over some of my dynasty rosters and looking over some redraft rosters, and I was like, who's someone I can target that, might bounce back? And I was looking, one of the names that kind of kept coming up was AJ Dillon. And I'm like, I really don't think he's going to bounce back. Like, I just don't. I don't have confidence that, Green Bay is going to figure it out and they're going to all of a sudden be a multi-touchdown scoring team. And so I think, AJ Dillon might be pretty close to a cut candidate. I mean, he's barely seeing the field. He's getting 3 or 4 carries. It's like, what good are you? You're not helping me. I just think.
Would you guys cut him for Gus Edwards?
100%. 100% I'd cut him for Gus. 100%.
Michael Carter?
Probably still would cut him for Michael Carter too. Yeah, I would cut him at this point. I think you can cut AJ Dillon and let him be a booby trap for someone else.
Yeah, he really hasn't done nothing. His schedule's getting a lot tougher. I know he has the Buffalo Bills next week. He has a layup matchup. If you hold on for him for 2 weeks and he plays the Lions and doesn't do anything, you could just forget about him the rest of the season because afterwards it's this terrible matchup, Dallas, Tennessee. So it's going to be hard, and he's just losing touches every week. I'm surprised he only had 4 carries last week.
That is true. And they also have Dallas, Tennessee, Philly, Chicago, the Rams, the Dolphins. They're not easy run defenses to go against. So, yeah, definitely a bad experiment this year because I have a lot invested in AJ Dillon. So definitely, I would cut him if you need to. If you're looking to pick up a different piece, don't just cut him to cut him. But Melvin Gordon, keep or cut.
Well, you already know my answer from last week.
Cut.
Yeah, he's probably a cut too. I just don't, I don't see it. But it sucks because running backs are a premium and he is getting touches. But, I mean, what good is 7-8 touches in a crappy offense? So I guess probably cut.
And it seems like they're like to give Latavius Murray the ball around the goal line, and we do not like that. So,
no.
All right. Nyheim Hines.
See ya.
Yeah, you can cut him.
Cut him. If JT is back and healthy, you cut him.
Mm-hmm.
James Robinson.
Woo! You're gone, buddy.
Yeah, see ya. This sucks. It sucks. Goose egg this week with minimal snaps. I mean, yeah, I think it's ETN is taking over that.
There was a report out there that he was banged up. I don't know how much that had to play into the situation. Obviously, it's been ongoing then if that's the case. Mm-hmm. But, he's at 13 fantasy points over the last 4 weeks.
He was
that's
banged
so-
up, or I saw Etienne had a good run at the end, and then they put James Robinson for a player too. This is the fourth quarter, so like I think they're just trying to save his name from
Mhm.
Maybe they
embarrassment.
trade him. Trade rumors to the Jets. I heard maybe potentially. That'd be interesting.
I heard
Please.
Kareem Hunt to the Jets, which would be
He's
that's
in a
another
long
one.
deal, I
God.
think.
That'd be kind of
Oh,
wild.
The Jets want to stay in contention, so I wouldn't be surprised if they do go trade for a running back. That's for
Mm.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah. I mean, if you have to cut him, you can. I maybe want to hold on to him a little bit longer. I mean, maybe something gives at some point. Bob Woods.
Yeah, I'd probably cut him. I think you're going to start to see Malik Willis soon, and I don't want any piece of that.
What's up, Kyle?
What's up,
Burke should be
Kyle?
back in 2 weeks or so.
Yeah, I would cut Bob Woods. He's good.
Mhm.
Let's see. Drake London.
Oh no. Shoot.
He's on the bench for me.
Yeah, he's probably a bench.
Bench guy. Okay.
I don't know if I'm cutting him quite yet, just because
He says
we did see
15
high-
fantasy points over the last 4 weeks.
I
15
know, that's
fantasy
such a-
points.
I hate Arthur Smith. I want him fired. I want him fired so badly.
The only saving grace would be if you look at his schedule, it definitely opens up. I know he had some difficult matchups in those last like 3 or 4 weeks. I know the passing volume is low, but I'm hoping something could break there. Like, there's just no way these Falcons could run like 30 times a game and be competitive, especially during the later stretch of the season.
Okay. He had 1 target, career low, 1 target this past week.
Okay. Talk
But
to
you're
Kyle
right.
Pitts.
The schedule does get easier. He's got the Chargers, the Panthers, the Washington, Pittsburgh coming up down the stretch. So maybe things pick up. I probably hold on to him too. Let's see here. Michael Gallup.
I'd still hang on to Michael Gallup. I think Dak coming back, gonna get acclimated with this offense. He's still number 2 in what should be, a higher powered offense in the league. I'm not cutting him quite yet.
I probably cut him if you need to.
I cut him, I added him, and I'm probably going to keep him 1 more week. I started Dak last week and it was just a pedestrian performance. You got to get his feet back under. So hopefully there's some good times to come soon. But till then, you got to just put him on that bench.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I will cut him if I need to. So, all right. So that is the rest of our keep and cut segment. We'll have more obviously in the next couple of weeks. Let's look what happened last week on our waiver wire show. Start off with me, obviously Deontay Foreman. If you guys picked up Deontay Foreman when I said to, you're sitting gold. He had a great week. Thinking about Drake London. Kenyon Drake, just a straight dud performance, unfortunately. And the rest of my guys, like Bellinger, he's hurt, unfortunately, now. Robbie Anderson, he was a wait-and-see kind of guy. And Rashad Waite actually had a better game than Leonard Fournette. So maybe there's a tide coming. Hopefully not, because I have a lot of Leonard Fournette shares I need to do well. But Rashad White did do well in a bad game. Jibs, Jimmy G, and Evan Ingram did well this past week. So that was great. Obviously, he also had Drake London, and then he had Van Jefferson.
Kenyon Drake, sir.
Kenyon Drake. What did I say? Drake London again?
Yeah.
Kenyon Drake, a dud, obviously. And then obviously some long-term ones. Van Jefferson, who is supposed to be coming off the IR, and Robbie Anderson. And Coach John, why can't I think of who you had there? Who'd you have? What Robinson do you have? Why can't I think of his name?
Which Robinson?
Oh, Wando Robinson.
Wando
He had a
Robinson.
pretty good week. He had a pretty good week. I just wrote Robinson. I didn't remember what it was.
Yeah. Wandale.
Wando Robinson did well. Kenyon Drake, obviously not great. Philip Lindsay didn't have to come back. And then Daniel Bellinger and Traquan Thurton plays tonight. So maybe he ends up having a good week. So, All right. So we got bye weeks. Kansas City and the Chargers this week here. Some heavy hitters, but obviously not as bad as week 7, thankfully. So we'll get through the week for sure. Before we get to the top 5, I do have one question on Twitter here. And there's basically about the waivers people, basically. Gus Edwards or Michael Carter rest of the season? Who would you rather have?
I'm going to say Gus.
I'm going to say Carter.
Break the tie.
I'm going to go Gus.
Yeah, I just think, oh, man. Yeah, I just think that there's more stability in that run game. I think there is a real chance that they go trade for someone. If there's already trade rumors out there, I think there's a real chance that they bring someone in and Michael Carter just goes back to his complimentary role. Whereas Gus, I think, is they're okay with Gus being Gus until, JK. I can't imagine J.K. Dobbins comes back this season. I can't. It's not like, in my mind, I can't imagine he does. So I think you're going to be okay with, Gus as an RB2 rest of season.
He should just sit unless they make the playoffs and maybe bring him back then.
There's no way. There's no way you should bring him back. There's no point. It's just he's out 4 to 6 weeks after a second surgery. It's like, I don't know what, but they were idiots to rush him back as it was. But
this is true. All right, so let's get into our top 5 overall waiver wire pickups of the week. Coach Jibbs, I'll let you go first, brother.
Okay, starting from the top, if you need a quarterback this week, I would look towards Daniel Jones. I know he doesn't have the highest passing volume games compared to other quarterbacks in fantasy, but he's able to pick up some slack due to his rushing ability. He is averaging 8 carries for 49 rushing yards per game. So you're already penciling 5 points if you think about it. I know this week I believe he has Seattle Seahawks, which should be a favorable matchup for him. So look into Daniel Jones if you're missing Mahomes or Herbert. Then for running back, Gus Edwards, we just talked about him. I was definitely shocked that he got 14 rushes coming back from like the ACL injury. We saw them baby J.K. Dobbins. I didn't think it would be that case. Kenyon Drake was absolutely garbage with that barely 0.5 per carry. So if everything stays to tune, Gus Edwards should be in a locked-in RB2 role for the rest of the season. Another surprising running back, Chuba Hubbard. I didn't think that backfield would be usable at all, but since Deontay Foreman's over our waiver wire percentage mark, Chuba Hubbard's only 30% owned, so you saw what he was able to do with the receptions, and he got a couple carries. I think he had 9 carries, good yards per carry. So look to him out as well. Maybe he'll be utilized more when Panthers are actually trailing, and he could be a weapon out of the backfield. Tight end, still sticking with Evan Ingram. He won me something last week. He's still been consistent for 3 straight weeks, 15 receptions, 176 yards, no touchdowns. He does have Denver Broncos, which is a tough matchup, but then Vegas, Kansas City. There's going to be some good performances coming up for him. And I had Paris Campbell, but I think I'll pivot right back to I don't know. I'll just pick Paris Campbell. But anyway, if you guys look on the waiver wire, this man has been electric over the last 2 games. 17 receptions, 127 yards, 2 touchdowns on 23 targets. He's been averaging a 99% snap share over the last 2 weeks. I know we need to watch how Pierce performs, and I know the quarterback changes may have a little bit of effect on this, but I still will add Paris Campbell due to his utilization in this Frank Wright offense.
I like it a lot. Before we get to Coach John, we do have another variation of our first question we had about Michael Carter and Gus Edwards. Let's throw in Chuba Hubbard in there now.
Mm-hmm.
How do you guys rank it with Chuba Hubbard?
I still would rank it probably Gus, Michael Carter, Chuba Hubbard. That's how I would rank those 3. I think Hubbard is gonna Deontay Foreman. They're gonna be some level of a 1-2 punch like we saw. Gus is. I like Gus as an RB2 for the rest of the season, and Michael Carter is probably more of a flex rest of the season, and then. But I mean, it's tough. It's so tough because Michael Carter could come out and get 15 carries and 6 targets this next week, and we're all beating ourselves going, why didn't we see this coming?
Yeah, I'm still going to roll with Carter, Gus, and Hubbard. I know you guys said a trade could possibly happen, and that could kind of put that backfield in flux. But I know going into the season before, they were saying Michael Carter's RB1, and then Breece Hall had a little electric 4 or 5 game stretch, and then they had to put him on the field. So if they go back to Carter and everything goes right with Gus, saying no injury concerns, then I will put Gus over Carter. But I just, as it is right now, I'm going Carter, Gus, Hubbard for sure.
I mean, I'm still going to stick with mine, just like John's. It's going to be Gus Edwards, solid low-end RB2. Michael Carter has high-end RB3 appeal. And Chuba Hubbard, I don't know what to make. I want to see it more than just 1 week. They were ahead in this game here. They just did whatever they want against the Bucks.
I can't believe they ran well against the Bucks. I can't
So
believe
bad.
it.
It was wild.
It was crazy.
Stranger things.
Stranger things. Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see what their role is. I mean, I thought he'd see the passing work, but then Deontay Foreman saw 2 catches for 27 yards. So we'll see how this works. But he's definitely last on my end. So, all right, let's get back to the top 5. John, what you got?
The first one I want to mention, and this one is probably not on your waivers, but he's 30% owned on Sleeper, so he might be out there and check because he's coming off a bye, and that's James Cook. I think James Cook, people might have had to drop him for bye weeks, might have forgot about him because he's on a bye. But what happened, if people remember, you had a healthy scratch out of, why can't I remember his name? Zach Moss. And I think coming out of the bye, they're going to start to get the rookie a little bit more involved. He's electric in the pass game. They need something out of the backfield. I think Devin Singletary is running well, but that's, he's not lighting the world on fire. And there's a world where James Cook can come in and earn some carries and earn some touches coming out of the bye. So I would check for James Cook first and foremost. I would go, we talked about Michael Carter and Gus Edwards. Those ones are kind of obvious ads. I like Cade Otton. I think Cade Otton has been getting some looks. He's consistent. Had a few games now where he's getting 4 or 5 targets from Tom Brady. And if this Bucs offense can ever figure it out and get back to being a top 10 offense, then he could be really good. The other one, again, I'm going back with Tyquan Thornton. We didn't get to see him play yet, but if he is still out there, if he is still on your waivers, he is a fast burner of a guy that I think the Patriots are lacking speed. They're going to design plays with end arounds. They're going to design ways to get the ball in his hands in the red zone. And he's a sub 4.3 guy, so you can't teach speed. And then the last one is Marquise Goodwin. I think Marquise Goodwin is one of those boring names that you don't really want. You don't want to have to start, but if DK Metcalf misses multiple weeks, he could be flex worthy for sure.
All right. I like it. I like it a lot. Let's see. I got to get rid of people. Who can I try trading for? We have another question here. I want to get rid of Debo. Who can I trade? Well, I'm trying to trade for. Who can I try trading for? It doesn't matter. Just a flex.
Okay.
We're thinking Dave Montgomery, maybe Aaron Jones, maybe Zeke Elliott, a wide receiver. I have Dalton Schultz, Gerald Everett. Yeah, Gerald Everett.
I would. I don't know if I would do it for. I mean, Aaron Jones is nice, but coming off a big week, I think that's kind of more of a facade than anything. That offense just doesn't look good. It just really doesn't. You could probably. You could get. What if you went and I've been trying to trade for ETN for the past 2 weeks in every league I'm in, but I wonder if you could get ETN plus something for Debo, which would be that's an interesting trade to me. ETN's been ripping off 30, 40-yard runs every game. Looks like he's taken over that backfield. Could really go on a tear in the second half. And then if you could get him plus, whatever else you want for Debo, you might be doing all right. Whereas Aaron Jones, I feel like that might have to be an even swap, and I think I'd still probably rather Debo.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Aaron Jones would probably be the closest one swap. I think if you put Monty or Ezekiel Elliott in there, you probably could get another wide receiver back. Out of those 3, I probably would take the fool's gold and Ezekiel Elliott. His schedule is kind of opening up over the next couple of weeks. Yeah. You get another wide receiver, try to make him pay up for that, and I'll take it from there. But ETN is definitely a good avenue, though, suggested by John.
Yeah, no, both great options. What I would look to do is try to do a 2-for-1 if I can. I always love to do a 2-for-1 if I can pull that off. I'd be looking at someone who might be not high on Amari Cooper right now, who's seeing a good target share, and Watson is much closer to coming back than we talked about a month and a half ago now, obviously. He's been performing very well, and people might not see that because his stats are a little bit inconsistent. But he has, I think, some big games ahead of him still, especially when Watson does come back. And if you can get another a RB or whatever on the back end there from whoever's team that is, I'd look to do that.
That's funny. Amari Cooper is a good name to bring up because he hasn't had those explosive games yet. He's just been solid week in, week out. And I think Deshaun Watson coming in is going to raise that ceiling. So he's a good That's a good name. You could do Cooper, like just for example, say Cooper and ETN are on the same team. I bet you could go with Debo and get Cooper and ETN and probably try and swing a trade like that, which you get close.
You might.
Get close.
You might. I don't know if anyone wants to trade. I don't know if you'd be able to do a 2-for-1 with Travis Etienne getting back, just because he's had such a good game this past week.
Yeah.
So, any one of those. I mean, Aaron Jones maybe is okay if you wanted to, just because I think the Packers are going to have some better schedule down their stretch here. Maybe they start using Jones more like he did this week in that receiving role. So,
Cameron,
what's up, dude? 9. Got 2 weeks till week 9, brother. But hey, sure, throw it out there.
Go for it.
Let's see here. Let's get to my top 5, and if Cameron has any questions, we'll get to that. So obviously my top 5 overall, similar to like all the guys here. Gus Edwards is at the top of that list. Should be a pretty solid RB2. I don't know when, if any time that J.K. Dobbins is going to come back. He put up 16 for 66 and 2 touchdowns. He's clearly leading the backfield off the bat. And again, there was last year we were talking about J.K. Dobbins, and people was concerned about Gus Edwards being there with him. And there's a reason for it. Gus Edwards is a really good running back. So I mean, he should be a pretty solid RB2. Obviously, if Deontay Foreman's out there, definitely get him. But obviously, if not, Chuba Hubbard is worth a pickup right now for sure. A throw on your bench as an RB depth to see what happens there. Maybe they want to go to Chuba Hubbard at some point. Maybe Deontay Foreman gets hurt at some point. You might as well pick him up now. I have actually 2 tight ends on my list, actually. I have Greg Dulcich from the Denver Broncos. Back-to-back games now. He has been the important player on this offense here for the Denver Broncos here. Basically, the only one really performing here. I mean, he's got 2 games now with over 8 fantasy points. Almost 100 yards over his first 2 games as a NFL pro. He's fast. He's an electric tight end, so he's definitely worth picking up right now. That's for sure. And my other one is Harrison Bryant. Jacoby Brissett loves his tight ends, and David Njoku has been playing very well this coming season here. And Harrison Bryant is just like he's just a very fast, athletic tight end. And I think for a few weeks, if you're looking for that tight end help, he's definitely worth picking up now until David Njoku comes back, at least until Deshaun Watson gets back, because we don't know what's going to happen with that offense then. But we know Jacoby Brissett has loved to throw to his tight ends over his career. And this might be the first time ever that Harrison Bryant actually has the tight end room to himself in 2 seasons now. So definitely worth a pickup in my books. And the last one, and this is going to be a tough one to sell, but it's Marquise Goodwin. The Seattle Seahawks. If obviously DK Metcalf looks like he's not going to be back this coming week, or could be multiple weeks here, it's definitely tough to throw it out there, and then you might be more of like a 14 to 16 man league kind of situation there. But Goodwin saw some good targets in this past game here, and Geno Smith has been flinging the ball every which way, and they have a fantastic run game that basically just opens up the play action downfield. And Goodwin saw some great work. 5 targets. 62 yards on the day. He might not get 2 touchdowns every week, but he's got the Giants and the Cardinals, again, a game where they might need to throw the ball a little bit more. So it's worth giving a shot on him and see if he ends up, producing. Especially if Tyler Lockett is also a little banged up too. So maybe there's even more targets coming his way this coming week. So just keep that in mind. All right. Let's see what we got here. Debo for G. David.
Oh, no. I don't know if I'd do that. I
Don't
think
fall for the fool's gold.
I think you could get way more than just Gabe David. I wouldn't do it straight up.
No, not straight up. I would want something else with that.
Yeah, I mean, I like Gabe David as a piece, but you could get more than just Gabe Davis. You should get more than just Gabe Davis for Debo. Gabe Davis is probably he's a boomer bust wide receiver too, whereas Debo is a little bit more locked in your lineup. I think you could just get a little extra.
Yeah. Debo is wide receiver 11 on the season, while Gabe Davis is wide receiver 26. You should be able to get at least something else with that. Debo's
try to get someone in the same ballpark at least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Plus upgrade somewhere else.
You tell the owner, listen, you're getting a player who is being super consistent all season long, and you're giving me a guy who, maybe he gets 26 points in 1 week, but the other week he's going to get me 5.
Right.
It's too boomer bust. You got to give me some kind of leeway here. You're getting consistency star, and I'm getting a up and down boomer bust wide receiver 2 most weeks. So that's the way I see it. But I thought about using Davis instead of Amari Cooper when I mentioned it originally. So All right, let's see here. We got Cameron here with his question in. So currently my RBs are CMC, Saquon, Kareem Hunt, Naeem Hines, Alexander Madison. I was stashing Elijah Mitchell. Now with CMC on the 49ers, my only RB is not on the bye week 9, or Madison and Hines. Definitely a tough day.
Now I get why he's asking this
Yeah,
question.
planning ahead.
Also,
Now I
with
get-
CMC trade, I've gotten 3 handcuff RBs on my team. Who should I drop and who should I look to pick up off waivers? 16-man league, full point PPR, doesn't have much left on waivers. Probably not.
Mm,
Let
mm.
me see. We're going to get to a couple.
16 teamer, huh? I mean, oof. So here's the thing. What do you do with Elijah Mitchell? Like, do you think he's just a backup at this point?
He's going to be a backup.
Yeah. So
I can't see anyone wanting to take on Elijah Mitchell right now.
Right.
I just can't. Like, I wouldn't want to take Elijah Mitchell on. Like,
So I'm just trying to think of players that you can cut and make roster space for.
Probably Elijah Mitchell.
Yeah, which
And
is
if
crazy.
you're looking for immediate impact, maybe Latavius Murray's still out there. Ty Johnson's probably out there. It's not
Ty
a great
Johnson-
play, but he might see work.
Yeah,
Ty
Johnson's
Williams
probably out there. Isaiah Spiller might still be out there. He was active
he
for
just gave us some guys.
Okay.
How about
Sony,
Damian Williams
Ryan.
on IR?
Craig
Yep.
Reynolds, Zach Moss.
Sony
I mean,
Michelle, P. Ryan, Craig Reynolds, Zach Moss, Ty Johnson. Not Zach Moss, not P. Ryan. I mean, Sony is fine, but we know who he is at this point. Like
Yeah.
he's good for like 5-6 points. Craig
Kieran
Reynolds.
Kieran Williams, yeah, from the
Yeah.
Raiders. Oh, the Raiders, the Rams. He's another week. He's probably another 2 weeks before he's coming back, Cameron. I don't know if he'll be ready by week 9, but he's definitely a stash right now to hold on to because he might get involved in that Rams offense.
Yeah, that's not gonna. I know.
I
I
would have
know.
thought the same thing.
So many Camerons, so many people did. Oh man, I traded for so much Elijah Mitchell this offseason. I'm so bummed out.
Oh yeah, that's tough. That's tough. Yeah, I mean Ty Johnson's the best. I think he'll actually see work in that Jets offense. It's not going to just be Michael Carter.
Mm-hmm.
We saw that last year. So Kieran Williams already taken. Damn.
Damn.
I mean, without seeing your rest of your squad, I mean,
It's probably a
tough.
trade had to be made.
You might have to make a trade here. Honestly, I personally would trade CMC, but I know these guys probably want to hold on to CMC. So,
I mean, you could probably get massive value for him right now. So I don't hate the idea to help you get through your bye week and secure a win. But yeah, that's tough.
would you guys trade CMC straight up for Jonathan Taylor?
God damn it.
Right now, the bye week's gone. He's got the bye week out of the way. A quarterback who's not going to maybe not throw the ball as much and focus on the run more.
You ask good questions. I now I know why you're the host. You ask really good questions. I would probably keep CMC in that scenario, but it's
You have Washington, you have the Raiders, the Steelers, Minnesota, the Chargers in week 16, 17.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they haven't had their bye week yet. I thought Indy had their bye,
No.
didn't it?
Mm-mm.
Oh, that's tough.
Yeah.
Maybe not as much. I kind of was doing that trade because I thought he had his bye week already. It made it more sense that way.
Right.
Steve, you could trade for Josh Jacobs and get Josh Jacobs plus.
Yeah. I mean, if you could do that, go for
I
it.
think someone still would want to take CMC over Josh Jacobs. So
Yeah.
try
Probably.
that, Karen.
Or maybe finagle Cook, even though that's a player who's off their bye and whatnot.
Yep.
That's true too. I like that. All right. If you have any more questions, Cameron, just keep on messaging in the group. All right. Let's get to the positional waivers now. Got some other players that we might not have mentioned. Some other quarterbacks. Andy Dalton versus the Raiders this week. Marcus Mariota versus the Chargers. J.C. Jackson just went on IR for the rest of the season, so they lost a big part of that secondary. Tyler Heineke had a pretty decent week versus the Colts. And, of course, Deshaun Watson's coming back soon, so you might want to start picking up Deshaun Watson. Now, anything of that group you guys want to highlight on your own end?
Definitely not Dalton.
Yeah.
Put up 37 points this past week.
Yeah, but
What?
He did.
Andy
Yeah,
Dalton? Yeah.
Andy Dalton had a monster game, even though he
QB2 on the week.
even though he threw a ton of interceptions. But
2 picks,
there is
4
talks.
touchdowns.
There is talks that Jameis Winston is going to come back and take his job. So
He shouldn't. Andy Dalton is playing better. So anyone in this group you guys wanted to go through, or are you guys okay with that group if anyone wants to take one of them?
they're all mid-level streaming guys. If you're in one quarterback, I wouldn't really go crazy over any of them.
Just wait until after the week.
Yeah.
That's how I would say it. All right, cool. So let's get to some RBs now. I got a lot here now. So we already mentioned the top targets like Edwards, Hubbard, Foreman. If Latavius Murray's out there, he's only 32% owned. I'd go for that. There's other players like Nyheim Hines, even though we just said to drop him, but depends on your league. Rashad White, James Cook, Kerryon Ingram played pretty well this past weekend. I don't know if James Conner's going to be back ready for next week yet, nor Darrell Williams. Craig Reynolds, Mark Ingram, Ty Johnson, DJ Dallas, Isaiah Spiller, Kerryon Williams, Kenny Gainwell. Anything sticks out to you guys?
Kenny Gainwell is interesting. I like I've always liked Ken Gainwell. I think, Keontae Ingram. If we're gonna miss another week without James Conner, Keontae Ingram's a good pickup. It's tough. These are, other than the obvious, Gus Edwards, Michael Carter, in the Carolina backfield, it's kind of tough because then it dries up quick again. You're back into like second, third string running backs, and you're hoping for an injury. So.
Again, there's not a lot of RBs this week that are like dire besides Eckler and then maybe Clyde. You're starting on a weekly basis, so you might not need RBs. But you could be like Cameron and planning ahead. He also has half his wide receiver core out as well. Cameron, just take the L in week 11.
Close up shop.
Close up shop week 9 and come in hard week 10. That's
I did that this week in a league. I said, you know what? I know I'm going to lose it. I'll just let the lose go. Don't ruin your team just to have a starting lineup for 1 week.
Yeah. Oh man. That's tough. But luckily, wide receiver production is a little bit easier to find on the waiver wire. A little bit.
Right. Jibs, anyone else from the RB position?
I like mainly the top running backs that we already mentioned in our waiver. And then the bottom two, Ty Johnson, DJ Dallas, like 2 running backs with injuries in front of them. And they have some kind of role, albeit like they're going to be the scat back, receiving downs back. But we've seen Ty Johnson be productive last year with Carter, and we've seen DJ Dallas been productive for short periods of time. So just keep an eye on those two below.
I love it. All right. Let's go to some wide receivers here. I'm going to do some first, and then we'll get to another section after this. First section here. These are just over 40%, but I got to mention them. If Elijah Moore was rage dropped over him not wanting to play for the Jets anymore, Corey Davis might not be there. So Elijah Moore is just over that 40%. MBS, Paris Campbell, we mentioned, Wan'Dale Robinson, Braxton Berrios. He always seems to do well when someone gets hurt on that Jets offense.
Yep.
Josh Reynolds could be a possibility if St. Brown can't go, and then Tyler Boyd. Anyone you want to highlight to that group?
I think probably Braxton Berrios is probably widely available, and he is, I think a solid bye-week fill-in. Plug him as your wide receiver 3 and see what happens. Start get you some points. He had a couple touchdowns, weeks leading up. This week he wasn't in the end zone, so it was not a great fantasy day. So, but that's just who he is. You get lucky with a touchdown, you get double-digit points. But he's getting targets. Corey Davis is out of the way. Obviously we know about Breece Hall, so who knows what this offense is going to look like now. But he's getting targeted.
Jibs?
Oh man, I just gotta shout out Tyler Boyd. This man, he plays third fiddle in the offense. This guy goes for $150.
Oh, he's so good at his role.
He's awesome.
Trade this man to a role.
He's awesome. So if he's on your waiver wire, just pick him up. We've seen Higgins kind of be in and out for some games. His role can be expanded on, and he definitely has a role by itself. I know the blow up games are probably going to be less than some of his average outputs. So definitely look into Tyler Boyd. And shout out MVS too. Love that deep pass. Finally getting some action.
Cameron said he's just going to take the L. Love it.
Maybe.
Hopefully Madison and Hines do well for you that week, though.
Imagine just Madison happens to have this big run, like an 80-yard touchdown run, and Hines has some
Like
crazy
7
outlier
receptions.
of a game.
Yeah.
Fantasy's crazy, man. It can happen.
Or your opponent scores nothing that week.
Or you guys are just a race to the bottom.
I'm in that right now, one of my leagues. So, all right. And some more other wide receivers I just want to throw out there for maybe some deeper leagues or whatever. Maybe you're really hurting at wide receiver. We have obviously Marquise Goodwin, I mentioned, Darius Slay, Rashad Shaheen from the New Orleans Saints, back-to-back big yard touchdowns. Traquan Smith has done really well over the last 2 weeks without Landry and Michael Thomas there. He's got like back-to-back 10 fantasy points. Noah Brown had more targets than Michael Gallup. Donovan Peoples-Jones has done really well over the last 4 weeks now. Mecole Hardman won a big blow-up game. I don't know if that's going to ever probably happen again, but maybe he starts getting more involved after the bye. Khalif Raymond, if both Reynolds and St. Brown are out, just to throw that out there. Jameson Williams, of course. Isaiah McKenzie, Robbie Anderson, Traylon Burks, Traquan, I can't say his name today. Traquan Thornton. There's so many of these names here. I can't say them today. Obviously, Joshua Palmer and DeAndre Carter are both on bye, but you might want to worry about what Mike Williams is gone for the next few weeks. So just keep that in mind as well. So anyone there, guys, sticks out to you?
I think Michael Carter is a good name. It sucks he's going into bye, so you might have to drop him or not pick him up because of it.
DeAndre Carter.
DeAndre Carter? Who did I say?
I know I'm correcting you right now.
DeAndre Carter? Who?
I
said Michael Carter? Yeah, no, DeAndre Carter. Because if that high ankle sprain does linger, again, he's kind of filling in that role. He's getting when they're missing people because Keenan Allen didn't play the second half. DeAndre Carter saw 5 targets. So, if all of a sudden Mike Williams misses time, and then I think Carter is going to get 5-6 targets again. So,
Gibbs?
You already know my man, Mecole Hardman. What a performance. I was watching that game. I was like, dude, this man's on my bench. He wasn't actually. But, don't really put all your eggs in the basket. He's on a bye, obviously. He only had 4 receptions, 3 carries, 3 touchdowns. So, we saw all the receivers actually be involved. So, just speculate on him, but don't, put any fab or anything on him. And going back to my man, Donovan Peoples-Jones, just keeps putting those good weeks back together. And like you said, with Cooper and that trade scenario, what happens when Deshaun Watson comes back and he has Donovan Peoples-Jones going too. So you got a locked and loaded, low-end wide receiver or a wide receiver 3, and you get him now before the price goes up.
Like it. I got one more question here before we get to the last part of the night here. Would you trade Michael Thomas for Gus Edwards?
Yes. Yeah. So fast your head would spin.
Gus Edwards limited today, by the way.
Nah.
Fine. Michael Thomas lives limited. Michael Thomas.
He put the team on his back this week, and he needs a half a day rest. Thursday night football against the Bucs.
Michael Thomas has been limited since 2018. So.
Yeah. And of course, some tight ends here: Jawan Johnson, Cade Alden, Greg Dulajic, Harrison Bryant, and then of course Noah Fant, Foster Moreau if Darren Waller is out again, Cole Kmet, Evan Ingram, and Irv Smith Jr. Anyone you guys want to highlight there? I think we've said a lot about tight ends already, but
what has Cole Kmet done to be on this list?
I don't know. He might do well tonight. I love Cole Kmet. I can't get off him yet.
Okay. For me, we're going to stick with my waiver recommendation the last 2 weeks, Evan Ingram. Noah Fant's actually has been picking up some slack, but I'm going to, out of this group, Evan Ingram, your recommendation, Harrison Bryant, and Jawan Johnson, especially if those receivers don't come back for the Saints.
And Adam Trotman's out too. That'd be great.
Oh, yes. And that guy.
John, anything there?
No, I still like Cade Otton and Dulcich. I think those are the 2 guys, young guys that have upside. I'd be going after. Jawan Johnson is for sure another good add if they got no Troutman and they got no Michael Thomas and they got no Landry. So, he could be necessary again if they go into the week all banged up.
True. All right, cool. So that is our waiver wire show. Any final questions? Please throw them in the chat. If not, guys, we're going to get out of here. All right, boys. Let's do some sign-offs here. Coach John, anything you want to say?
I pray for anyone that won this week. You are lucky. You're fortunate. Take your week 7 win. Recover, bounce back, and move on. And if you didn't win, like most people, I feel like everyone lost this week. Just know that fantasy starts again this week. You make your waiver wire choices and try and get back on week 8.
Of course. And Cameron has another question. Who are you scooping here? Robbie Anderson, KJ Osborne, Greg Dolchik, DeAndre Carter, or Braxton Berrios?
Carter's on bye, so probably not him. KJ Osborne, I think we know who he is right now without an injury. Robbie Anderson and Dortch, I think.
Give me Robbie Anderson and we'll see what happens. If you need
I think
play, put Carter.
I think it's probably if you need. Yeah, it's funny. If you need to start someone, I almost want to say Braxton Berrios, but I probably would add Robbie Anderson and just see what happens there. Way more upside.
Right. Chips.
Robbie this week, Dortch next week. I mean, not Dortch, DeAndre Carter. Sorry.
There you go.
Yeah.
And he wants to make sure Elijah Mitchell is a definite drop.
I could
if
use
you
the
need the space, it's definitely for me. I want to hold on to Jameson Williams so bad. So
I could use that higher spot for Jameson Williams.
For me.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah. No. Keep Jameson Williams over Elijah Mitchell. If you can, I guess maybe Jameson Williams is due back any week, right? So
I think probably not until mid-November at least. So
yeah, I think if this is, and especially if this is purely redraft, you're good dropping Elijah Mitchell. You're good. It's just it's not happening.
Or just try to pedal him around for something before you do
that. I'll trade you.
Real quick. I'm gonna trade to every owner and see what happens and take a biter. If not, do what you gotta do.
That's it.
Jibs, sign off, my friend.
Oh, what do you want me to do?
Whatever you want to say.
Oh yeah. Let's go Monday Night Football. I want some points to be scored in this one. Should be a 12-9 game. Hoping Ramondre Stevenson doesn't find the end zone. I hope Mooney doesn't find the end zone.
Hope he does.
And just kidding, guys. But great episode, guys. If you know a Bryce Hall manager in your league, just go give him a hug. He needs one.
Mm-hmm.
If not, just pour one out for the guy. So kudos to you guys. Let's get starts and sits. Boom, boom.
Hell yeah, guys. So again, thank you all for listening. Obviously, please go check out our website at www.thefantasycoaches.com. Again, thank you all for listening. Thanks for tuning in and chatting in our group here. If you want to know more about us, go see us on Twitter at Coaches Fantasy. We put our announcements and great content that we be posting up there with either articles or episodes or anything in between with like rankings and everything. So check that out as well. Please subscribe to us on YouTube right here. It would be greatly appreciated. Like us on Facebook. Comment us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you guys listen to our podcast. And again, thanks for listening. We'll be back Thursday, like Jibs just said, for some starts and sits. Till then, guys, have a great one.